In less than rather than 24 several hours the area displaced sharply by their feet, of the perspective of negotiations among Trump card and Polar Korean lead Kim Jong-un, to question above the next of relations among the two countries. In Seoul, officials answered in mess and frustration to Trump card's ad. The White's building hadn't aware Southward Korean officials of his judgment in advance, time the Japan by the government named for negotiations to go on to discover a way out of the policy deadlock. Down there has been a noticeable silence of Beijing. Through the area, human beings concerned on if the tensions among the US and Polar Korea could aggravate, time officials scrambled to answer to the new policy scenery. Bungling the public diplomacy could put the area at more hazard of dispute rather than always up, told Jean H. Shelter, a Polar Korea specialist at the US-based Wilson Center, Mass. In Seoul. A picture undertaken for an disaster meet in Southward Korea on Thursday overnight showed a gloomy-faced CEO Luna Jae-in debating the ad in his advisors. Trump card hadn't informed the dark blue building, Southward Korea's president office space, of his plans to revoke the summit conference up the ad was done, contagious Luna by surprise party. In a telephone talk in U.S. Secretariat of Country Mike Pompeo on Friday, Southward Korean Overseas Secretary Kang Kyung-hwa told her by the government was really frustrated the summit conference wasn't departure front. On to Southward Korea's Overseas Ministry, Kang told the summit conference could include be a late spot in the bid for the full denuclearization and institution of constant world on the Korean Peninsula. Southward Korean papers smeared the news story through their frontline pages on Friday. Several named it a powerful go by Trump card. It will driving the Southward Koreans and the Americans separately. Luna teed up which could include been one of the big deals in story and Trump card blew he told. Kelly told how time Luna had maybe spurred too difficult for the meet to get location, and had staked lot of his repute on its successful. The Southward Koreans were more than potential to accuse the joint state rather than their own CEO. My anxiety is how Southward Korea will be so disgusted at Trump card's behavior will include a very unpleasant patching of association policy, he told. Silent of Beijing several hours following each some nation in East Asia had answered to the news story of the summit conference's cancel, Beijing was yet quiet. The history wasn't though on the frontline web page of the most of the nation's China-tongue newspapers on Friday night. The communistic side's document of recording, the human beings' everyday, buried it on web page 21. On the nation's hard-censored public print, largest users debated Trump card's unpredictable and joked on declining characteristic prices on the China boundary in Polar Korea. Human beings who nested in Dandong actual property are the actual losers, one Weibo customer told. In the routinely provocation country Yellow World Times, and drafting told the cancel of the Singapore Summit Conference would wound the joint countries permanent in the area. America's domestic picture has been corrupt always with Trump card announced his departure of the Iran nuke transactions. The cancel of the Singapore meet will just increase their adverse picture, the paper told. The dramatic judgment to revoke the summit conference makes lifetime lot more than complex for China CEO Xi Jinping, told Bonnie Glaser, CEO of the Center for Strategy and World Teaching, China Forced Draft. If tensions ratchet wheel up among the joint state and Polar Korea, later China will end up in the medium, creature seen as work close in the nation that is the issue, not give her up its nuke arms, Glaser told. In spite Trump card's reiterated concoction how Xi had emboldened Kim to shove behind versus the Americans, Glaser told it was very hardly the China CEO requested to tamper the summit conference. At lowest, she told it was probable Xi had requested the Polar Koreans to consumer demand an end to the U.S. Southward Korean drills, in link in Beijing's politics. I don't very see how the acting to China's benefit, she told. An prospect for Japan, he may though try to use the present deadlock as a acknowledgement of his expressiveness on blood pressure, on Polar Korea, Nakano told. Addition, the Japan PM could leverage the news story to shove his pro-military national policies. Japan's newspapers were separated on wherever to throw the accuse for the summit conference's cancel. The permissive Asahi Shimbun paper named in its drafting for Trump card to no shut the doorway of dialogue time the prudent Sankey document told Kim had undervalued the joint state. In social statements, both of Japan's Overseas Secretary Taro Kono and Head Office Secretariat Yoshihide Suga displayed slight frustration at the growth. Which is essential is not possessing the summit conference himself, but how the summit conference will be as a opportunity to do advance on the rocket and nuke question, Suga told. Both of men named for the extension of dialogue above the Korean Peninsula, in Suga underlining the shut relation among the joint state, Southward Korea and Japan.